Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy Dadman JB. Today we're here with a special SWTOR PvP video. It is, I think, one of the more outgoing, different type of videos that I have today. We are gonna be going over 5 of the most underrated classes in Star Wars: The Old Republic that people don't use much when playing PvP. And I just want to give attention to some of these classes, you know, because we used to have way more people play different classes in 6.0. I feel like we saw lethality players were common. We saw deception players. Now it's like I feel like they're all the own little niche being played. So we're gonna go over all the top 5 different specs. Pretty underrated. I'm gonna be bringing up they're all gonna be DPS because there's really no people really when it comes to tanks and healers, they play what's best for the most part. Like for the sake of video, it's all gonna be DPS classes. So if you're a DPS player, then you can be, if you're interested, maybe try some of these classes. If you have the tech frags and tacticals to place on these classes. So starting off or with specs. Starting with the first spec we have, it is Vengeance / Vigilance Juggernaut Guardian. This class, it was once one of the most used classes back in 6.0 because it just had some really good damage from its overhead slash impale. Plus its dots were able to be spread, so it was a really good class for people to play. And plus you had grit teeth back in the day, decrease your focus defense, so many people played that or used that. The reason this class is underrated is because currently the meta is a lot of mobility and high damage, on top of good survivability with potential self heals. So you don't really see this class being played much because it lacks the survivability that tank has, and it lacks the mobility that rage has. So a lot of people, and burst that rage also has, and both of those classes actually have. But what it lacks in burst, it makes up for with its ability to force people to play in your playstyle. So many people, when they go into PvP, their first targets are always the Juggernaut, and for many people that's usually a disadvantage because you're getting targeted first. People are damaging you. If you don't know what you're doing, you're gonna die instantaneously. What you can do, depending on the map, you know, play around corners, because no matter where you are, there's always gonna be a corner or a high point or low point that you can play to your advantage for cover or LOSing. And what I like to do is if I know everyone's gonna look at me, so say for example, I'm looking at someone before the fight even begins, and I see right here that they are looking at me, I'll use that to my advantage, and I'll play cover, and force them to come towards me instead of me being forced to come towards them. It also still has its focus defense, which is basically a second life as long as you don't have trauma being applied to you. And on top of that, it has Saber Ward. You're gonna have your Annure or your little temporary health, which you use when you're about to place all your dots. That way, your dots heal you for 2% of your max HP, and each burn affects its trigger up to 20%. Meaning, if your max HP is like 500k, you're gaining more HP from your burns, from your dots. That's how, when you pair it up with your dots, it makes this class really good. So, it doesn't have the burst. It might have the same burst from like Raging Blast and Burning and Crushing Blow that Mortal Defense and Rage and Focus have. It can have the same burst potential as the rest, on top of you're able to survive longer. And force all the attention on you, allowing your team to do damage. So that's what makes Vengeance / Vigilance so advantageous. Okay, next up, it's gonna be I think this is gonna be a more straightforward class. I think this class is just I'm just gonna show its rotation and show how much potential it really has. First up, we're playing Gunslinger / Sniper. If you didn't know, when you go in cover, people aren't able to leap towards you. But on top of that, if there's a ranged player that's trying to go after you, if they don't have certain passives to protect them from movement and parent effects, you have your leg shot, which roots them for 5 seconds. Then you have if you run if you're running piercing rounds, for the whole duration of your penetrating rounds, enemy stays immobilized. So during this whole time, You see they're being rooted. Whole time you're doing damage while they're just stuck in place. On top of that, you can run lay low, which knocks enemies back and has them rooted in place. But I personally go for snapshot because I like to be able to go into cover and instantly pop a ability, pop my DPS abilities. So just to give a quick rundown of how much potential this class has, and like how everything's instant cast. So you drop down, charging blast, apply my dots. I forgot to do that, but then you go penetrating root, then you go trick shot, then you apply penetrating root again, and see how everything's being instantly cast. You basically are just having everything be free casted, and on top of that, you have a diversion, which reduces accuracy by basically 50%, a surrender, which makes you immune to basically everything, gives 200% dodge, and on top of that, you gain 75 damage reduction to force and tech attacks. On top of that, you have a defensive screen which you absorb damage from, and you have a pulse detonator to knock back melee players, forcing them to stay rooted for a long time. And yeah, there's a lot of survivability with this class. On top of it, having good sustained damage on targets, and if enemies are grouped up, you're then able to spam your AoE, your sweeping gunfire. It's also still really good, and just not a class that should just be seen as not as good, because it is a good class. And honestly, I think it's a more fun class than the other two, because it just adds for so much variety and creativity with your playstyle. Okay, and for the third and final class, not third and final, for the third class, we have Arsenal, which I think the main reason this class gets overlooked is because it's not good in PvE. Many people prefer IO over this class because of it's just more sustained damage compared to Arsenal, but Arsenal is really good. I think it's mainly because it can't swap between the two AoE and single target as much. In PvP sense, almost all forms of Merc are really good because it has a energy shield, which reduces, it's just 25% damage reduction for 12 seconds, which is a long time in PvP. And on top of that, after your bubble goes off, if you have trauma regulators, you gain 40% of your HP back. So if people damage you, every time you take a damage, you gain a stack of trauma regulators, and when you get 10 stacks, you get 40%, because each stack is 4%. And pair that with energy rebounder, you have it back in a minute. So basically for 48, you only have it off for 48 seconds, and by that time you can be casting your flare, which is your damage reduction. It gives you 35 damage reduction to melee and range, plus immunities. And then you have your hydraulics, which give you speed, and then your electronet, which is distancing yourself from melee players, on top of a jet boost, which blows back enemies. So you have all that, and a concussed mine, which you can instantly cast with power surge. But you have a lot of instant cast abilities. So if I just show a quick rotation, let's see if I can remember off the top of my head. Oops, I messed it up already. All of your abilities can be casted while moving around, which makes this super good. Your tracer missile, has your blazing bullets come off cooldown. So you see right here, it has it come off cooldown, and you're able to spam it on top of that. So you have a lot of damaging abilities that can be used while moving on your class. And I think that's the biggest thing about in this current meta, is that having mobility while dealing damage is just super good. All your abilities you see are 30 range, meaning you can play far back while having self heals, and even if you're not able to kill them instantaneously, as long as you're able to stay alive longer than they can, you bring so much value to your class, to your team. It's one of the classes I even say you should play when getting into this game. Okay, for the fourth class, we have Concealment, operative, or I think it's Scraper. That's the thing. This is a really good burst class. I think it goes underlooked like the rest. I mean, I'm gonna go into quick detail about it because it's really easy, straightforward class. You have your volatile, which is like a burst, which bursts once you do your melee attack. You have your lacerate and your backstab on top of your veil strike. Um, on top of your stim boost, which basically comes every like 10-20 seconds, because if you run the roll knife, it reduces your stim boost cooldown by 10 seconds, and your stim boost gives a 10% alacrity and critical damage, 15% alacrity or critical damage for 15 seconds, which drastically increases your damage towards your lacerate. In general, you average like a 70% critical on this class, because tactical critical, you increases your critical by, I'm pretty sure, like 10%. So this class is just very good at going in. You can go in and out of combat when needed, and if you run the passive that reduces by 30 seconds, then it's on a minute and 30-second cooldown. But it also has self heals if needed, and you can run the blow for blow, or like I think back at you for Scoundrel, which gives you 150% reflect damage. Overall, it has a good amount of survivability, has great bursts. You can open whenever you want. And yeah, you just don't see really much being played. I think you really see a lot of lethality played, and assassin if people are gonna play stealth. So yeah, highly recommend this class. Really good. Like I said, it has great bursts. Averages like I have purple augments. I don't even have gold augments on, and I'm averaging like 34k with my parses. While still trying to learn the class. Like if you get the hang of it, you put gold augments on, you can average like a 36k average damage, and you could just decimate someone's HP. Great for 1v1s. You're already getting rid of or adding so much health and survivability that then being able to get out of combat just makes it makes it a great class. Definitely not like the stealth isn't as meta as it once was, but it's still a very good tactic to have in PvP, especially for this game, because once you're in stealth, there's no way of being found and being caught, and you can go and heal yourself. So yeah, Concealment, really good class if you're interested in playing it, and like I said, one of the more underrated classes. Okay, so for the fifth and final class that I think is one of the more underrated or fifth and final spec class, I think it's underrated for its spec. It's gonna be Pyrotech PT / Plasmatech Vanguard. What makes it so good is it has so much damage. It has so much spread damage on top of burst from this class, that it really just, in my opinion, just goes unrecognized. It can global any enemy it wants, and it can no one can stop it from going on a certain target, whether it be a sniper, a sork, assassin, jug. No matter who it is, there's really no one that can really stop it, in my opinion. I don't really and I really don't see many people play it, I feel like, in PvP. Like people love Pyrotech, Plasmatech in operations, PvE, in PvE in this game. But for PvP, I really just don't see many people play it. It's something that if you get your dots on people, they're gonna have to use their DCDs. They're gonna have to kite. They can't stay near you, and they're not able to concentrate their damage or free cast. And I think this is what this class does really well at, and I think it even survives better than Vengeance and Vigilance. Better compared to their self heals. This class has Cult to Overload, which is on a 3-minute cooldown. I don't think you can reduce the cooldown of it. No, I don't think you can. But however, while it's active, you have a 30% damage reduction. On top of that, your Cult to Overload is reduced by 6 seconds when you're attacked. And this can happen. It's on a 1-second cooldown for having the 6-second reduction. So you're having your Cult to Overload back in basically a minute. I think I'm not sure the cool exact time of that, but yeah. So you have culture overload, which um oh, it doesn't go on cooldown until it's triggered. But still, you have your cult overload, which comes back in a minute. You have your energy shield, which is on a 2-minute cooldown. Then you have your hydraulics. Oh, and eat thermal yield, which gives you 40% armor increase. And on top of it, has its dots that last so long on the enemy. You have your missile, which is on a 12-second cooldown. Yeah, you have your scourge, which is on a 27-second cooldown, or not cooldown, a dot which lasts for 30 seconds, and then your incendiary burn, which lasts 14 seconds, 13 seconds, and your immoltile, which is something you just keep on spreading. So you have 3 dots, with which 2 of your dots last for 27 seconds or last for 10 plus seconds, and your other one just is your one you could keep on repeating over and over again with your rapid shot. So you have 3 dots, all of which, so it's really good at forcing people to not allow people free cast, and if they are like quote unquote free casting, you're able to spread your dots on them, and they're going to have to use their DCDs to survive or negate your dots. So overall, really good class. I'd say it's one of or the most underrated class. I think in PvP. What was best to run for these classes, tactical and gears and set bonus wise. I have a video linked down covering guides on some of these classes and or a gearing guide for all of the classes mentioned here and in all of SWTOR. So that video is down in the description if you guys are interested. And yeah, hopefully you guys found this video helpful. Maybe if you guys are interested in trying out these classes, I highly recommend it. They're really fun, and yeah, all these classes are super fun and all have their own play styles to them, which make them unique in their own ways. Anyways, though, with that being said, that's gonna do it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoy the next one or enjoy this video, and be sure to watch the next one. Yeah, with that being said, that's gonna be it for me today, and hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day or evening, afternoon, or wherever it may be. Anyways, though, take care, y'all. Peace. Bye.